Hey guys, welcome to the Fomo Factory. I would like to show the worst case scenario for Bitcoin and altcoins and the potential best case scenario for Bitcoin and altcoins. So we can prepare for both outcomes. There are a lot of people bullish on the market right now. There are a lot of people bearish on the market right now. And it could go either direction in the short term, of course. And I just like to show you what I think of the market and how I am preparing for both outcomes. Non crystal balls right here. So, not financial advice, but let it be a piece of your research. Maybe that will help. So if you want to like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, welcome. Turn the bell notification on so you don't miss out on anything. Let me start with that. Things in the crypto market can change like this, okay? So at the moment, Bitcoin is doing well. At the moment, altcoins, especially on the Bitcoin pair, are not doing well. Don't get dragged up in that sentiment too much, I would say. Because like I said, that can change very fast. If you look at the last cycle, for example, where altcoins were dropping on their Bitcoin pair, it went really hard, but in an instance, it turned around. Okay, so that's something that could happen this cycle as well. But let me start with the worst case scenario and how I like to prepare for that, and then the best case scenario. So we have to start with Bitcoin. I know you think it's boring, but if you if Bitcoin is not important or whatever, then you have no idea where altcoins might go, right? If Bitcoin from here moons to 200K, your altcoins will likely do well. If Bitcoin crashes hard, then your altcoins will probably not do well, okay? So I know it's not the most interesting stuff, but it's correlated to your altcoin bags. We saw a short, correction dip-ish in the market, a flash crash or a black swan, according to some YouTubers. Overall, it was much of a nothing burger. Actually, the market shows that okay, we go down on bad news. Then we realize that the news isn't actually that bad and we go up again. And the people that are down here take it as an opportunity. They got a nice chance to fill up their bags with cheap prices for this market. So if you look at the altcoin market, yesterday I was making a video here saying that I was going to shop about a lot of altcoins, and now it's a little higher. Look, this is not the big move, right? It's more that, like I said in that video, I don't know why this line is so screwed up like this. It shouldn't supposed to be like that, but whatever. It's if you buy these lows, then you're just DCAing at nice levels, right? If you have faith in the market long term and you want to fill up your bags, then these are the places where you want to buy. This is not that I bought here to sell here, right? Like this move is nothing, okay? So, but keep in mind that every time there is a little FUD in the market, it wicks to the downside, people buy it up, and then it goes up again. Here as well, here as well. This was nothing different so far, right? So again, let it maybe be a lesson like, hey, low prices in an post-election year, post-halving year, these are to buy up and these are not to panic sell, okay? That's the main lesson right here. First, Bitcoin. Bitcoin holding strong, looking really good actually. I am chart-wise not bearish on Bitcoin at all. Now, what's my bear case scenario for Bitcoin? It's funny. It's what we talked about like a month ago or longer. And I just saw Benjamin Cohen making a video about basically the same thing. And that's a potential correction back to around 70K. And I know it sounds ridiculous. I know it sounds crazy, right? People are already freaking out if we go from 102 to 98. So if we go back down to 70, believe me, the whole wide world is going to scream that it's over. Well, in fact, that would not be that weird, actually. And why would that not be weird? Let me show you why that would not be weird. So far, we have been following the two previous cycles very, very closely, especially the 2017 cycle, right? That's the orange line right here. We've been following this thing like perfect. 2017 is really, really, really what we are kind of repeating right now so far, and so far, right? We won't do that forever, of course. But this is repeating the last two cycles pretty good. Like also the 2021 cycle, but it's more often correlated than not. Right here we were underperforming, here we were outperforming. Now we are underperforming. At some point we might be outperforming again, right? But these cycles are very much intact. Now, if these cycles are intact, then it would not be weird to assume that not only the way up we follow, but also on the ways down we follow, right? And that's gonna scare the crap out of a lot of people. So I already want to say I'm not bearish over the long term. Therefore, at the moment I have around 25% in cash. And why that much if I am so bullish? I don't know. It makes me feel comfortable. And that other 75% is enough for me to ride it up. But make sure to have some cash, I would say, right? Like that, it's always nice to have something in case that the market is going to, really go hard, down hard. In 2021, at this stage of the cycle, January, right? Bitcoin had a correction of 30%. 30%. In 2017, let me get back to 2017. In January, Bitcoin had a correction of, that was not the correction in 2017 January. Sorry for that. Jesus Christ. All right. Here we go. Sorry, guys. January 2017. I was looking way too far in the future. Here we go. Here, Bitcoin had a correction of 35%. Right? So, again, in both last two cycles, which we are so far following very well, Bitcoin had a correction of 30 up to 35% in January of the post-halving year. Now, I know that January is almost over, but if we have it in February, I mean, that's close enough for the 4-year cycle for me to call it the same, right? So far, I mean, we had a correction so far of 17% from absolute top to bottom, right? Now, if there are two possibilities, right? Like the first correction was 35, the last correction was 30. So the corrections, just like the returns, could be diminishing, right? More money in the market, ETFs, yada, yada. So it makes sense to think that the corrections are not going to be that big anymore, right? Is this our seasonal 30% correction? Could be that it was very diminishing and that this was it. On the other hand, we should also keep in mind that we could just see also, again, a 30% correction, right? If we let's say from the top, go down 30%, and I don't think 35% actually this time. Again, it's diminishing, but hey, who knows? Then we go back to this area of the breakout, which we never really retested. It's not that I look at this and be like, oh, that's impossible. Again, money-wise, it is a lot. And it would feel like that could never happen. Then again, so far, it always happens, right? So we should not stare blind at the fact that it's impossible. That's all I'm saying. I'm not putting in this video how likely this is, so far at least, but we should not look at this and be like, nah, that can't happen. It's crypto. It can, okay? In crypto, everything is possible. So that would line up with this whole area right here. It would line up with the last cycles. 30% corrections in crypto are common, right? That could happen. That's, in my opinion, the worst case scenario, right? I don't think that we're going to go lower than that. If so, then maybe let's talk about that by then. That would not be nice. So that's for Bitcoin. Now, what about altcoins? And what about also potentially needing QE, right? I see a lot of people say that we need QE in order to get alt season started. I don't think we need QE necessarily, but there is something to that which we do need, and I will come back to that. However, let's again look at these corrections when Bitcoin had these corrections, right? And let's see what happened to the altcoin market at that moment. So this was the start of the Bitcoin correction in 2021. And I hope I can find it a lot quicker this time. In 2017, here we go. This is the 2017 correction, was here. All right. What happened to altcoins back then? Well, we can overlay the altcoin market. And if we look at the altcoin market, what happened? In 2017, the altcoin market dropped from, you can't see it, my head is in the way, but from 320 million to 260 million, right? That wasn't a 30% correction. If we look in 2021, you can see that when Bitcoin had that correction, the altcoin market actually it had this small bump right there, but overall, when Bitcoin went down, the altcoin market went up. How? Well, that has something to do with the Bitcoin dominance and altcoins on their Bitcoin pair, right? Because when that Bitcoin correction happened here, altcoins on their Bitcoin pair, they bottomed out, right? They found the bottom and they went up after that. 2017, you can see that when Bitcoin had that correction, the altcoin market, again, on its Bitcoin pair, went up, right? Also bottomed out in this area. Now, is it likely that it's going to bottom out this time as well? I mean, both previous times it bottomed. And let me show you altcoins on their Bitcoin pair right here. They both bottomed at that point, right? January 2021 is where they hit the trend line. And if we go back here, January 2017, they hit this trend line. Now, we are at the trend line. So, historically speaking, this is the stage of the market where Bitcoin goes down, but where altcoins on the Bitcoin pair find their bottom and go up, right? So it's all in all, altcoins go down less hard than Bitcoin. And in last cycle, they actually went up. That's a possibility. That Bitcoin, right? Again, it's not a prediction, but it's a possibility that Bitcoin goes down to around 70K, 75, but that the altcoin market actually doesn't really go down that much / go up because the Bitcoin dominance is going down harder than Bitcoin. That's what happened last cycles, right? That's what happened last cycles. Now, we have to look a little further than that, though, in my opinion, because why did that happen last cycles, right? Is it just cyclical? It could be that it's just cyclical, right? People, they made enough money on Bitcoin. It could be a psychological game here, right? People made enough money on Bitcoin. They feel like, okay, Bitcoin is now going down. Fuck it, let me rotate into altcoins because I have profit on Bitcoin. Let me put it into something riskier. Right? That makes a lot of sense. That's a possibility. However, we can also take a look like, hey, again, people say we need QE. And what is QE? QE is basically, this chart is the Fed balance sheet. And when the Fed balance sheet is going down, that's QT, quantitative tightening, right? When it's going up, that's QE, quantitative easing. And it's basically money flowing into the market. The net liquidity is going up with it, which is good for risk assets. Right now, if we overlay the altcoin market on its Bitcoin pair, so basically the purple line is the alt season chart, right? Basically, right? You can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit on that. You can see that that's pretty correlated, right? When we went into QT here, alt season stopped and altcoins got, kind of wrecked against Bitcoin. Here, when QE began, altcoins went up against Bitcoin. Here, when QE or QT began, where this was going down, the Fed balance sheet, altcoins were getting wrecked against Bitcoin. Now, last cycle we had a big, there was QE, right? There was after COVID a lot of money printing, and this went kind of vertical. And based on that, I see a lot of people say right now, hey, we need QE first in order to get an alt season. When do we hear this, by the way? Tomorrow is the FOMC meeting. Then we hear this. And so far, they the FOMC update, Polymarket users are forecasting a 98% likelihood that the Fed will keep rates unchanged, right? So no cutting, no increasing, nothing. Okay. So what could this mean for the altcoin market, and how could you play this actually? Well, again, the last cycle we got QE and altcoins went up. But the cycle before that, we went into even a bigger alt season, right? But we didn't have QE there, right? It's just that we had no QT, right? So what I see from this is actually that as long as they stop quantitative tightening, that will be good for risk assets. Now, it will make sense that they are going to do that. Trump coming into the office, he's saying that he wants to weaken the dollar, right? That he's a capitalist, right? Like he wants risk assets to go up. And so far, he's kind of doing what he's saying. So it would not surprise me that at least QT will come to an end. If that's going to be tomorrow, I don't know. The next meeting after that is going to be in March. Okay, so if tomorrow the Fed, if they come out and they say QT remains and it will continue, then we will know based on this that alt season won't happen for at least 2 months. Is that worrying? I don't know. Again, this cycle, like I just showed, looks a lot like 2017 so far, right? If we look at this again, if we compare to 2017, it's like a copy of it. So if tomorrow they come out and say QT will continue, then it could be that alt season won't happen for another 2 months, at least, right? And then it depends on what they say in March. If we look at the altcoin market in 2017, again, because this is kind of following the Fed balance sheet, right? If we look at that, then we can see that in March or in 2017, we came down to the trend line at the end of the halving year, right? Just like we did right now, end of the halving year. We were sitting there completely the same so far, right? And then we kind of did nothing until, March. And then we went into an alt season. So one of my expectation, or one of the possibilities actually, is that they come out tomorrow and say QT will continue, and that the altcoin market just is going to be still a little down/boring for the coming 2 months. And then in March, things might change, right? Trump had a lot more time to do his thing. Who knows what's going to break in the meantime, right? A lot can change. And that then alt season will trigger. And that would actually be a like a copy of 2017. And that's not weird because the market so far is a copy of 2017. Now, is this going to happen at all? Oh, yeah. I mean, if you overlay the net liquidity, which is kind of correlated to all of this, right? You can see that the net liquidity is going down only. Biden did fantastic, right? Like net liquidity down, 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 down. Less liquidity, people are not gonna gamble, right? Bitcoin is less of it's still a risk asset, but people don't see it as that risky at the moment. Altcoins are, of course, right? So the altcoin market is following the net liquidity like very, very precisely. If you see when the net liquidity started to drop, you can see that let me make it a little more clear. You can see when the net liquidity started to drop, that's when alt season stopped. You see that when the net liquidity started to go up, that's when alt season began. Back to the cycle before that, you can see that when the net liquidity started to go up, especially from this point where it went kind of parabolic, right? Alt season began. Here, net liquidity started to, be in this distribution phase and go down. Alt season stopped. Now, the net liquidity is going down. Net liquidity, one can't go down forever. The world needs money. And if this is going to run out, eventually, what is the Fed going to do? They print money. Right? This is guaranteed, 100% guaranteed to go up. So if this is correlated all season, then that's also guaranteed to happen, right? And we tackle the thing like, hey, there are too many altcoins right now. That has nothing to do with alt season. I think this is way more important. But this is guaranteed to go up. And again, with Trump kind of doing what he's saying right now, I'm curious. I'm curious how this is going to play out. So there are two possibilities. Well, there are multiple possibilities, but the two possibilities that I see for now in the short term is either the Fed comes out tomorrow and say, hey, QT remains, right? I can see this thing go down/sideways, being very boring for another 2 months, and probably down as well because people are already bored. And if they don't have the outlook that that's going to change over the coming 2 months, then people probably say, you know what, fuck that, I'm out. And that could lead into the final, drop. That's for me DCA. Like that this is like, yeah, I don't know how to say it, but I'm buying already. But this gives you 2 more months to accumulate. Right? And that sounds fucked up for some people. But again, if you eventually have the outlook that alt season is going to happen, then 2 months of more accumulation eventually is going to make you more money, right? If you now have more time to put money in the market and it will be higher later, then you have more money to take out. That's a possibility. Another possibility is that they will come out tomorrow and they will say QE begins or QT will stop, one of the two. That's gonna be, I think, like this. Why? Because that's not priced in. People don't expect this, right? People are not sitting like, the market is not predicting QT to stop. If it for some reason does stop, then I think risk assets are gonna go crazy in a very short time frame, but like within an hour of announcement. Like really up. Not here all the way, but up hard. Then I think, though, that the market is going to sell off because that's more of a buy the rumor, sell the news event, actually, right? Because the actual money that's going to flow into the market, that's going to take some time, right? And that's kind of what happened over here as well, right? Here we got QE. The market went up. People were bullish on it. They were like, buy. It looks like alt season started. Then Bitcoin started to go really parabolic. Dominance went down again. And that's where we hit this trend line. seasonality, where it went up. Could be something like that. Either way, I think that again, I gave a lot of reasons on this channel so far why alt season is the most likely outcome. Chart wise, sentiment wise, time wise, right? The seasonality of the cycle, everything. There's not a reason for me to believe that it's not likely. Macro wise, again, as well. Right? Again, the Fed won't. It's not that, like, again, that the net liquidity will drop forever. That's simply not possible. They will print their way out of it. And again, like I showed, if you overlay the net liquidity on this, you can see that it is, when it comes to alt season, it is fully correlated, basically. So that's a very bullish outcome. Now, in my opinion, what could also happen, again, worst case, best case scenario, to get back to this drop potentially, if Bitcoin drops 30%, let's say that altcoins won't, that we won't stop QT yet, right? And that altcoins are not gonna outperform Bitcoin. Let's say that they just go with Bitcoin, right? That the dominance at that moment stays kind of flat-ish, right? And not on a minute chart, but overall, what's doing right now, up, down, up. Yeah, actually, we are sitting at the same place as where we were in October, so kind of sideways. Let's say that will keep on going while Bitcoin drops 30%. Then it's very simple. Then the altcoin market drops 30%, right? And if the altcoin market drops 30%, that could take us to, this lower buy zone right here, actually. $230 billion market cap for others, give or take, right? A lot of resistance right here, support, resistance. Never really retested after this break. It's not weird, right? It's not weird. Could happen. And then it's up to you to now look at your portfolio and compare. What I'm doing, I'm screenshotting my portfolio every once in a while. So I can look back, like, hey, when the others market was here, how was my portfolio looking? Okay, others market dropped that much. How much did my portfolio drop during that time? So how much is my portfolio correlated to this? So I can kind of calculate for myself, like, hey, if there will be a 30% drop on this, how will my portfolio drop, right? Because 30% drop, nice and all, but this is everything in the top 125, right? The rest outside of the top 125 could drop harder. Again, from the top until where we are right now, we dropped so far with 28%. Yeah, a lot of altcoins from the top this cycle are down way more than 28%, right? And that's because these are more risky assets. They will also go up harder when the market turns around, though. But that way you can kind of calculate for yourself, like, hey, what can I expect? How much money would I still have then? What would be my stable ratio compared to coins? Then you can calculate, like, hey, if I buy it up, then what would the outcome potentially be? That only makes sense if you have a long-term bullish outlook. Now, I have that. So for me, like, yeah, look, it would suck in the short term. Over the long term, it would make us more money, right? But I can already guarantee you, like, there are already now people, even in my comments, right? They see this kind of drop thing and they are already scared. So if this happens, they will be nowhere to be found, right? Like, these people, they are completely gone by then. Like, they can't handle that. It's up to you that, again, if hypothetically, right, if this happens, that you are mentally prepared for it and that you can handle that. Now it's a nice time to buy. This would be a opportunity of a lifetime. Would it make sense compared to other things? I mean, the USDT dominance is sitting at a point where, Like, yeah, I mean, this trend line, last time it bounced off of this trend line from March to August, week to week, right? What happened to Bitcoin March to August? Again, that was this period right here, March to August. It went down. There was not this here, right? Yeah, there was that. That was for Bitcoin a 33% drop. So, yeah. Again, the altcoin market dropped way harder right here, right? March to August dropped 60%. But again, that was a year earlier in the market. That was in the period of the market where the Bitcoin dominance was supposed to be bullish, right? Where altcoins were supposed to go down on the Bitcoin pair. Now we are more in the stage of the market where altcoins are supposed to go up on the Bitcoin pair, whether it happens today or in 2 months, like that period, right? So I don't expect this drop for altcoins though. If we look at the total crypto market, back then it dropped with 38%, right? If we now drop like with 38%, yeah, that would put us $2.3 trillion. It could, right? We made an all-time high. We broke it, retested, still very bullish though. So this is a reason for me to believe that we may have already seen the big drop, right? Because but it can always break. It can always break. I don't know. Last cycle, when we broke the all-time high here, we never revisited, right? We went above it and we never came back down. Yeah, in the bear market, right? But not in that market. So, I don't know. This is what I'm looking at right now. It depends on what's going to be said tomorrow. And again, I cannot predict that. I cannot predict that. Overall, I do know that it's a good time to DCA into quality alts. Will we have this opportunity for another couple months? Could be. Again, that would be 2017 all over again, right? And so far, this cycle looks more like 2017 than 2024 one. So that would not be weird. Would not be weird. And then it's really, again, your job to, one, believe. And again, a lot of people, they don't. They're scared, right? They say, oh, it's different. No, it would be, if we drop 275K, that would actually be more proof that this cycle is the same, believe it or not, right? Like we just showed. And then it's your job to buy the quality alts, right? And the quality alts, I mean, the altcoins that hold up on the Bitcoin pair, and I made a video about that yesterday. There are a lot of alts that are strong against Bitcoin, right? And I think that they will skyrocket, but really skyrocket, once this thing goes up a bit, right? To wrap it up with, when altcoins on the Bitcoin pair were having this, that cat bounce, basically, it was not like that. Like, that's not an alt season, right? It was just a short-term relief for altcoins, but it was not comparable to this. It was more comparable to this, right? Relief, down one more time to the trend line at the end of the halving year, alt season. Relief, down one more time to the trend line at the end of the halving year, alt season. But here already, if you overlay the altcoin market, right, on the dollar pair, altcoins on the dollar pair were already sitting higher than where we are today, right? While Bitcoin in this period of the market was sitting at 40, 50K. Now it's sitting at 100, right? So let's say that Bitcoin does drop to 70 and altcoins on the Bitcoin pair do go up. Altcoins on the dollar pair are not necessarily going down if that happens. So yeah, I want to wrap it up right here. If you want to see my portfolio or exclusive videos, if you want to have one-on-one calls with me, if you want to get into some private sales, join the exclusive community. There is a link down below for the Alpha Factory. Do check it out. For now, let's wait to see what happens tomorrow. I'll be there probably. And I'm very curious. I think my expectation QT will remain, and we get another boring period for 2 months, and a lot of people are going to give up, and we're going to see an alt season, and everybody's going to be left behind. My expectation. We'll see. Thanks for watching, guys. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Turn the bell notification on. I'll see you tomorrow.